The nature of what you're experiencing is probably pretty similar to other people. And so if you would be writing an essay that just talked about it being hard to be cut off from your friends and the challenges of technology and online learning, there are so many other people who could write that same essay. But if you feel like you can write it in a way that gives really shows the reflection and impact of the experience, and perhaps how your thinking has changed as a result of COVID-19 and its influence on you, then it could be a good topic. Fortunately, though, you don't necessarily have to put it in your essay, even if you want to talk to us about how it's affected you. The Common Application this year has created a new option for students because of the uniqueness of these times, and has given you a number of different ways that you can impact, or you can share with admission officers the way that COVID-19 has influenced you. And if you click any of these boxes, except for the none of them apply to me, you'll be given a space where you can elaborate a little bit on what that impact has been. And so that way you don't have to use up your essay space to talk about this unless you really feel like it's going to be a very strong essay topic for you. And a lot of you will fall into the category of none of these apply to me, because your experience may be very similar to everyone else. And so you're not needing to write about something that's out of the norm. We understand if there's any such thing as a standard COVID-19 experience in terms of just the hardships that people are facing. We do understand that, and that does not necessarily need to be elaborated on unless yours is out of the norm. We tend to find a lot of topics that are repetitious, and unless they're treated in a way that really shows how this situation influenced you, the subject matter can get a little more repetitious for an admission officer. But I will say, just in following up on the previous slides and on this particular image, that it doesn't mean that COVID-19 is a bad topic. So maybe you had technology challenges and you had to become incredibly innovative in order to handle your school assignments. And through doing that, maybe you realized that you were good at creating things, or that you were really good at problem solving and working around solutions in ways that you hadn't known that you had those skills before. So each of these things give us insight into who you are, how you think, how you reflect on things, and that shows some deeper insight. And that's something that we're really looking to see on the university level. So what you want to do is focus more on the how and a why than the what. So a lot of times students, I think they're trying to do this, but they don't necessarily know how, and they end up writing what I call a story essay. And so a story essay can be memorable, but it rarely reveals very much about the student, because it usually lists a lot of details about an experience that they've had and does very little to share with us why that experience was important to them. And I imagine that many of you watching this video are applying to very selective or highly selective universities. And at that level, there are often hair-splitting differences that are made between the student who gets in and the student who doesn't. And so this type of thoughtfulness and insight and self-awareness can show you as somebody whose thinking is going to enrich a classroom and enrich a community. And that's the kind of depth that's characteristic of an intelligent and an engaging person, and that's something that will really enhance a university community. So here's where there are probably a few things in my discussion today where I may say something that differs from what you've heard. It's easy to feel like you hit that submit button and your essay or your application goes off into the cyber universe and you have no idea who's looking at it. But it really is people, and we're not all the same people. Most essay prompts want you to reflect on at least one of these things: impact, growth, change in perspective, new insights. Or the other situation is somebody says that they took a community service trip, or they ran for an election in their school, or they tried out for a role in the play. And usually these stories get told in quite detail and then wrapped up at the end with something like, so even though I didn't win the election, I realized that it's good to put yourself out there, and you should always try, and I'll know how to do better next time. I find that sometimes less is more. So focusing in more depth on something that matters rather than stuffing a lot of different things into your essay is a lot more compelling. And really, if you have too many things pushed in there, the really good stuff gets lost because you don't have time to develop it fully in ways that will be meaningful to us. And then finding ways to put different things in just sometimes feels really forced and contrived. So have a little bit more of a minimalist approach rather than trying to tell us everything. And you realize that it's a topic it's meaningful to you, it's important possibly even to your future, but it blinds you a little bit from the reality of its quality and maybe even some mistakes that could be in it that you're not aware of. So with that in mind, I really encourage you to get feedback on your essay. So what you should do is ask a few trusted people in your life to read the essay out loud to you. One reason to do that is that, again, because you're so close to it, if you're reading it yourself, you're anticipating the next word. And you might not notice that there's a word missing, or that a word is in there twice, or that you cut and pasted just slightly incorrectly, but you need to sort through and find the pieces that resonate with you, that you can put together in a way that supports writing an essay that represents who you are and what you want to convey. So I think if you follow that and other pieces of information, tips that I wasn't able to put in this short presentation, that you will be off to a good start.